Put in the chat what you're using. And then if you're paying for it, put in there what you're paying for. Let's see here. So ChatGPT, GPT not paying, ChatGPT 2020. Okay. I love this, by the way. And Copilot, Alyssa's gonna be the one that if I have technical difficulties or if I just want to bow to the queen, I'm gonna stop and Alyssa's gonna teach us class. She has all the things. So Alyssa, glad you're on. That's fantastic. So I think that if I'm gonna make a case for anything today, if there's one action item that I'm hoping that if you're at stage 0 at the end of today, I hope that I'm going to help convince you, not because I have stock in ChatGPT, but because I believe fully in you as a human, and I think that you deserve the leverage that you're not fully giving yourself. And so if there's one thing that I'm hoping at the end of today, it's that those of you that are not paying for ChatGPT, that you are going to, by the end of this call, be like, all right, I get it. I'm going to pay $20 for it. And that you're going to come away with some ahas in this call of things that you can do to really maximize that. So there's number one. Number two, if you are currently using ChatGPT or using other products, I'm going to show you some ways to maybe use some of this stuff together. But what I really hope is that when you come into this call, you're thinking of how you know that you use ChatGPT. And the real unlock, the cheat code, is finding the side of our awareness that we didn't even think to use AI for that we could. So do me a favor, as we're sharing things, put in the chat ways you are using ChatGPT or using Gemini or using Copilot. Put them in the chat, because you're going to mention something in there that somebody else is going to see, and they're going to be like, I never would have thought about it for that. And that's the power of kind of community learning in this sort of area. I'm on these calls because every time I finish a call with individuals like you, I will learn a new way to use ChatGPT or use AI. And that's what keeps bringing me back, is I want to be a lifelong learner. And so I know you guys do as well. So feel free, share as many ideas as you can in the chat, and let's be collaborative learners together when it comes to that. So waiting for a few more folks to come in. I see some of my team. Heather, we probably should change out your name now. Now it just gets very confusing. Heather and I did a training together this morning, and we both needed to be Seth Daly. But goodness knows you really don't want to be Seth Daly any more often than you have to.
So, I mean, I love being Seth Daly, honestly.
There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get started. I actually have no idea where this QR code goes, but I do know I'd love to stay in touch with anybody who's on here. And because you dropped into this, chances are you are in like my funnel for life until you unsubscribe from something. So you'll certainly hear from me. But if you want to reach out to me, there's my contact information. So knock yourself out. I would love to hear from you. All right, well, we're just going to dig in for a little bit. First thing, and some of you've heard this before, you're going to hear it again, and I hope that every time you hear it, you take on a bit more meaning of what this content means for you. So the first thought is, how do I think about AI? How do I think about AI? And I like thinking of this a little bit in movies. So here's a few images of movies that have been helpful for me when I think about how I'm using AI. Number one, I really, really like Iron Man. And I really like that voice in the head of Tony Stark, or when he's down in his like inventor's cave, and he's constantly just talking to Jarvis and saying, Jarvis, do this for me. And Jarvis is like a robot. And then Jarvis is this voice in the computer. The reality is, ChatGPT for me, I actually have an email address now named Jarvis at the Daily Group. And we're starting to send emails to Jarvis and have Jarvis do stuff for us. So Jarvis is, in Tony Stark's Iron Man world, is this robot that is always present, always listening, always able to assist with stuff. And I think ChatGPT is going to start to feel like that for the majority of us in a lot of different ways, right? So there's one. Then I think about this scene from The Matrix where Keanu Reeves, a young Keanu Reeves here, needed to learn Kung Fu. How do you learn Kung Fu? Well, all they did is they plugged his brain into this computer, and all of a sudden it zapped, and a few minutes later, he said, I now know Kung Fu. And that's a fun scene from a movie, and no, ChatGPT is not going to teach you Kung Fu. But the times that you could want to learn something, let's say that yesterday you heard a podcast by an author that you really like, and all you remember right now is their name. let's say that you watched a YouTube video from somebody, you're like, I really want to learn more about that person. Or you took a class on some and you want to learn more about it. ChatGPT is an incredible learning tool because it's interactive, right? So we can now say to ChatGPT, hey, I just, here's the title of the book by Brené Brown. I heard her speak. Give me insights or answer these questions the way Brené Brown would. And you start to learn in a modality that you absolutely had no knowledge of. If the way that you thought about ChatGPT being worth $20 a month was that's about the cost of one book, and if every month ChatGPT would help you learn as much as you could learn from one book, that would be reason enough to get it, okay? Now, the picture at the bottom left is the one that I definitely see us all using AI for right now, and I think it's the one that's going to get us into the most trouble if we're not careful. So AI is like 1,000,000 or 1,000 little minions that are running around. They are interns, and they want to do everything they can. What's the phrase? Significant? I think I've got that phrase wrong, that word wrong. But it's the idea that when you ask ChatGPT to do something, it's just too nice. It's like they just want to make you happy. So here's what I think of a ChatGPT as. It's 1,000 little interns that have all read the internet. They're smart in the sense that they've read the internet, but they're interns. They're like brand new to what's going on. They don't actually have context of what you're looking to do, but they will give you answers like they're incredibly confident. Just remember this, ChatGPT or all of these AI products will always be confident, and it will sometimes be accurate. It will always be confident, and it will sometimes be accurate. And when you realize the difference of always confident but sometimes accurate, you're going to learn to be a little bit more skeptical of it, okay? And then the fourth one, which we won't get into a ton on this call, yet this is something I'd love to cover with you over the coming weeks, is how to train your dragon, or in AI terms, how to create custom GPTs, how to train your chat GPT or your Claude or your other products to perform the same way over time and to learn about you and act the same way, right? It sort of becomes your AI at that point. So there's some of the thoughts. Feel free to drop in the chat as you have questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep moving through stuff. Okay, quick warning. AI is like salt. AI is like salt. We all want a little bit of salt in our food. And we all know what it's like when the food comes out and it is too salty. And there are experiences that we're all having in the world right now that when you get a message from somebody, you get an email, you get you see a whole bunch of social media posts, and you're like, that's just too salty. They didn't know the limit of how much AI they should use, and they literally just had AI write everything on it. It's a challenge. The more that we rely on it, remember, it gets really confident. It's sometimes accurate, but there's also a style of AI that we start to recognize it. And I really, if there's anything I want to do today, it's like a little bit of salt goes a long ways. If you're not putting any salt on your food at all, this might be a time that you start to use AI more. But I think we also hate it because we're seeing everything out there get too overused with AI. So there's the warning. All right. I promised that I would walk you through my basic AI stack. And so you're looking at a screen right now that if you wanted to take a screenshot of it, here are some of the basic tools that I found early on I was using the most. And there's definitely some on here that I use more than others. But here's what they are, right? So ChatGPT was probably one of the first ones that I started using. That I think we're going to talk most of the call today about ChatGPT. But ChatGPT was one of the first ones. And then along with ChatGPT, I started using Fathom, and I use them together. For example, this call is being recorded on Fathom. And I'll show you in a little bit some of the benefits of that and how I use that together. But I use ChatGPT and I use Fathom. The whole point of Fathom is that it would start to take my calls, and I do a lot of training. I probably train, geez, right now, I bet I'm training 8 hours a week between different groups. And I reduce all of those trainings. I want the transcript. Once I'm going to say in a few minutes how to go from analog to digital. So analog is I'm speaking to you right now. Digital is the fact that I'm capturing those words. Okay. In fact, as we're talking right now, I've got this recording in Fathom, and I've got another recording going, which I'll show you in a second. All right. Then depending on which other platforms you are participate in, so you might want Gemini, right? It's on the Google platform. So if you're already paying for Google Suite, Gemini probably comes free for you. Notebook LM is a Google product that that I also use. One of the reasons why I use Notebook LM is because it lets me take my own content and put it in there. And when I ask it a question, it will take the answer more from the content that I placed in it than from anywhere outside of it. It's sort of giving it this container and saying, here's your knowledge. As opposed to if I just ask ChatGPT a question, it's taking knowledge from the entire internet. Perplexity is another search tool. The basic benefit of Perplexity is it's really good at research. And then Claude, not used nearly as often. I actually really like Claude. I'll show you some of the use cases if we have time for Claude, and I'll definitely go into it more. I'm gonna do a 4-week class here in a bit, and I'm gonna cover some more of these. But I'll give you a little bit of a taste of how I use Claude today. And then a newest one, which I got to give credit to a buddy named Min. Anytime I can thank a colleague, I got to speak with a colleague named Min, actually on the same panel as Alyssa, and this guy won the internet that day. He's like, guys, the one thing you need is Prompt Cowboy, and I'm telling you, if you just type in promptcowboy.ai or Prompt Cowboy, you'll find it. Promptcowboy.something. It's free and it's the best thing ever. So write down Prompt Cowboy. Maybe we'll go to that in a minute. So take a picture of this slide. These are some of the initial tools that I work with a lot, and I'll walk you through it. And like most of my training, I think that one of my gifts to the world is I tend to start a class by saying, here's how I think about something. And if for the next little bit, I'm definitely going to help you think about AI as a way to use it. And just here's the way that I think about it. So when it comes to all those products, right? When it comes to all of these products here, here's what I would tell you. Of all the ones you should use, which one should I use and why? Here's what I tell you. ChatGPT, I think of it like the Swiss Army knife. And I got this from Marcus Sheridan. I don't know where he got that metaphor, but I'm like, that's brilliant. ChatGPT is like the Swiss Army knife. Here's the thing about a Swiss Army knife. Nothing that it has is the best. Okay? They aren't the best scissors. It's not the best bottle opener. It's not the best. I don't even know. It's not the best nail file. I mean, maybe it is, but it's not the best single blade or short blade. It's not the best at anything, but it's the Swiss Army knife. It does everything like at a 7, right? So when you're asking people the question around you, like, well, what should I pay for? What's the best product? I'm not trying to pick the first product that I use as the best. I'm trying to pick it as the most well-rounded. And if I only had one product that I was paying for, I would be paying for ChatGPT. Okay. I think of it like the Swiss Army knife. All right. So now I want to talk to you about when you think about AI, I want you to start to think about AI as people, as personalities. And I want you to think about AI as what is the personality that AI is for you. So when you came onto this call and you thought about, I want to learn how to use AI more, I want you to imagine first, who was AI going to be for you? So here would be an example. I want AI to be my assistant, right? I want AI to be my coach. I want AI to be an expert. The guy that's scratching his head there, under that it says clone. And who knows what the last one is? That doesn't even make any sense. Oh, I know. It says companion. I want AI to be a clone or a companion. Who you want AI to be for you is going to impact the ways that you're using AI, right? So put in the chat, when you tend to interact with AI right now, what are you having it do, if anything? Or what are the types of roles that you've seen AI play for most people? I'll give you an example. There are 8 products. In fact, Alyssa mentioned it earlier. I think she did. 11 Labs. And I don't know if she mentioned HeyGen, but 11 Labs. 11 Labs is a voice AI that will clone your voice. Okay. So I'm talking right now. I've got about, I don't know, 15 minutes worth of audio. I could take the audio, the last 15 minutes. It's me talking live. I could upload that audio into 11 Labs, and it would make a replica voice for me. I could then type out a bunch of words and go into 11 Labs, put the words in there, and it would speak those words. I could make it create a podcast. Whose voice is it? It's my voice. Is it really? Well, it's a clone, right? Ron using AI as an intern, right? So I think of that a bit like using AI as an assistant. So here's what I tell you. Think of these 4 roles, and there are others. There are others besides these, but think of these 4 roles, and I want you to notice that the opportunity you have inside of this call is to find a way that you weren't thinking about AI, that you could start to think about AI, right? Because you already know what you know. So if you're already using it as the concierge or that intern, then an employee or a helper, you're already thinking about that. And maybe you can improve on that. But maybe you're like, I've never, ever thought about AI as a coach. I don't even know what that means. Any one of these would be worth $20 a month, right? For those of us that are paying several $100s a month, it's because we look at this whole circle. We're like, oh my gosh, AI can play so many roles in my world. It's worth paying for, right? We literally would budget it. We start to get to where we're almost budgeting in the human resources payroll category. It's a different way to think about it. Okay. So AI as a coach, AI that prompts, guides, maybe challenges me. AI as a concierge, because I needed a word for assistant that started with C. So that's what you're going to get. AI as an employee or a helper. AI as a clone. So AI that replicates my style and voice. Now, when I say the word voice there, you could hear that word and interpret it one of 2 ways, right? We talk about voice like my literal voice. That's what a software like 11 Labs does. If you imagine a scam, there's scams happening already, and they're just massively going to increase. Like think about deep fake stuff where somebody gets a call from their child overseas. Like my kid's in Nicaragua right now. And if I got a call and it was like a ransom call with my daughter's voice, was it really my daughter? Right? Like that's the type of cloning that I think is really freaking people out. But there's people right now, I could send you to podcasts where you're listening to somebody's voice and you know it's their voice because you've listened to the podcast before. But this podcast episode isn't actually them. This podcast episode is just words written out. Maybe they wrote the words or something else or somebody else did. Those words got turned into 11 Labs and it read the words, right? That would be replicating a voice. But also think of voice not in terms of your actual timbre of your voice, but your style, right? We all have a style. I use the word right way too often. You guys will now notice it on the rest of this call. It's a filler word that I use when I'm speaking. Your style of writing, your style of communicating is one of those things that if you are wanting AI to start to take over your social media, or let me just have AI write my newsletter, or let me have AI write my buyer presentation, or write this email response. That's an example of cloning. Here would be an example. If I put an email into AI and say, draft a response from this email, and then my assistant sends out that draft, it's a clone of my assistant, but it's an assistant to me. But if I copy and paste that text and put it into my email and I hit send, I just use AI as a clone for me. And we notice this when people are starting to send emails. Has anybody yet gotten an email from somebody? And the way you knew it was written by AI is because they forgot to delete like the last sentence that was like this question of like, would you like me to do something else with it? It's AI often asks a prompt at the very end that will kind of ask you another question, and they copy the entire text and put it in an email to you, and they forgot to delete that last sentence. And you're like, you didn't even write this. AI wrote this. Okay. And then lastly, AI is a colleague. And the way I think about a colleague is think about you are an expert in your field. You know what you know. You are not an expert in another field. And for a lot of us, there's fields that we have not chosen to pay the money. Well, I'll give you an example. I have no idea how to code. No idea how to code. So if I wanted to build a website right now, who would I go talk to? I could find somebody locally. I could look in my network and find somebody who's a web programmer that knows how to code. That'd be one option. Number two, I could go on to Upwork or Fiverr, or I could go to a website where I could literally find a human being somewhere in the world that knows what I'm trying to do. And up until ChatGPT, that's what I would do. And now I can actually think about ChatGPT as like, you know what? I don't actually want to spend the money to hire somebody in the Philippines that is a genius at writing HTML code. I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to do it. I'm going to treat it like an expert in a field that I don't know anything about. Okay? All right. Does anybody have any questions or ahas as I pause right there to take a quick breath and listen for my dog that is apparently barking? I've got Ron's comment about a clone would be scared. Somebody put in the chat, what are areas that so far you've been focusing on AI as, and what's an aha that you have looking at these different categories about ways that you could think about AI or talk out loud, either one. All right, we're going to move on. So I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to try and explain this. Remember, just keep this image in your mind, and I'm going to walk you through each of the four of these in some ways that I would really encourage you to start to use AI. So the first one is we'll talk about the idea of AI cloning you. If you are going to use AI, and at the output that AI gives you, you are going to put into the world as if it was your own, then you're going to face, you're at a crossroads right now. One is, does AI say it better than you, or do you say it better than AI? And a lot of us are going to have this self-confidence issue where we're going to like, AI says it a lot better than me. I'll write an email and then I'll send it to AI and I'll say, make this better. And it's going to give you an answer in 3 seconds that took you 30 minutes to write. And you're going to think, shoot, if you can do it in 3 seconds, what took me 30 minutes, then clearly you're smarter than me. And you're going to copy that answer and you're going to put it into your email and you're going to hit send and you're going to sign your name to it. And all of a sudden, you do that time and time and time again. One, you're going to trust your own voice less, right? Because we're now starting to rely on AI. And number two, people are going to start to notice. They're going to notice that when you send them emails, you sound smart, but when you're in person, you sound totally different, right? Or when you send emails or when you use social media posts, you sound like this kind of a person. But when I really meet you in real life, you sound like this. And we're going to start to get this disconnect. I don't think that's good for humanity. I don't think this is I don't think this is what any of us want, but it is absolutely a path with very little friction, right? Here's what Ron said. I write it and ask chat to improve on it versus having chat write. Absolutely, right? Chat sounds like chat if unfiltered. So what we're talking about here is what are the different lessons that you can give. So Ron might have put into ChatGPT, here's my text, improve on this, or he said something else. Now, what I want to give you, Ron, is the tool that I use to give it as much background about me as I can. So then when I say improve on it, I could say improve on it in my voice, and I'm giving it as much background as I can to do that. So one way is I could give it words. I could say something like, talk like me, and here's how I talk. I talk in short sentences. I use the word right a lot, and I like to use metaphors. And I speak at a collegiate level. I don't even know that any of that's true, except for the metaphor part. I'm telling AI how I think I am. I think it's way more powerful to just let AI actually notice how we actually talk. So for those of us on this call that are trainers, and I'm looking through the list of people on this call, and I see a lot of people that are in front of people on a regular basis. You are seasoned professionals in this, right? I also see my cousin on this call, or my niece, which is amazing. So I see a lot of people on here. You're in front of people on a regular basis. Here's my suggestion. Start to go from analog to digital in your conversations. What does that mean? Find some way in a legally acceptable manner to make sure that you are recording your content when you are at your best, just riffing in front of a group, or in a buyer consult, or working with a seller, or explaining something to anybody. Find a way to make sure you are capturing that content. So a couple ways that I do it. I use Fathom whenever I am on Zoom calls. So this call is on Zoom. I'm recording it on Fathom. I'll show you in a little bit what I'm doing with that. I'm also, just for kicks, recording this same call right now on Otter. By the way, none of you get to use Fathom on this call. How do I know? Because I wouldn't let any of your Fathom note takers in. I don't even think any of you tried. Y'all should have tried, right? But you didn't try. But what I couldn't stop any of you from doing is recording this on Otter on your own computer. Some of you are probably doing that, right? Some of you just thought of doing that because I just said it. But I'm recording this on Otter. So it's capturing all the text in real time. The problem with Fathom, by the way, is I don't have access to the transcript on Fathom right now, right? We're 28 minutes into this call. I can't get the transcript until I end the call, download the Fathom recording, and then it'll give us the transcript. But Otter is recording in real time as I go. So I actually could pause right now, take the recording of Otter, put it in ChatGPT, ask a question, and I literally might change my presentation in the second half of the call based on that. It's in real time. But when I'm meeting face-to-face with somebody, I will often record on Otter on my phone. Other people are starting to use, if anybody's seen the device called Plod. Plod is a little, actually I have an older version of it, but Plod is a wearable device. They kind of have it looking like a little pendant now. And then there's a version that almost looks like one of those things that goes on the back of your phone that is a recording device. So there's a couple different devices. You're going to see a whole bunch more of these come out. You're going to see the Meta glasses. You're going to see lights buzzing on people's heads all over the place that people are going to be recording things. My advice to you is if you are in meetings and at the end of the meeting, you're like, that was good. There were some gold nuggets in my content in that meeting, and you find that it was not recorded, I think that's a missed opportunity. I look at some of you, Darren, I'm just seeing you on the screen there, and I'm like, the world of an OP, it's a hard world. You're in a lot of meetings, right? You're talking to people a lot of the time. We've got to find a way to duplicate that stuff and to use that. So going from analog to digital, big deal. I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go. Coach, remember, so the top of the chart was using AI as a coach. If there was one book that I would recommend at this point on this, it's by a friend of mine named Jeff Woods. How many of you have read this book, The AI-Driven Leader by Jeff Woods? AI-Driven Leader by Jeff Woods. If you have not read it, I'd recommend it. It's not an AI book. Now, this is kind of the genius of Jeff. It's a book riding the AI wave, but it is a leadership book. And I think that's great. And Jeff's primary audience is Fortune 100, maybe Fortune 500 CEOs of big companies that are kind of thinking that AI is something for the tech department. For those of you, I don't know a lot of you and kind of your roles in your organizations. I do think that if you would identify yourself as a leader inside of your organization, I usually took anything that was techie and I pushed it down. I'm like, can somebody handle the tech side? Because I don't think that's what I should be thinking about. I think that AI is seismically different in how we're approaching it. I think it is going to be a complete transformation in how we operate in the world. And I think as leaders, we need to be on the front edge of this. If you are an agent, you're like, I'm not a leader of anything. I promise you this, amongst your database, you are the leader. If you have a database of buyers and sellers, I know some of the agents inside of my brokerage are on this right now. Y'all, you could be learning a little bit about AI, and you could be running a class for your database the way I'm running a class right now. The people in your world, you are still absolutely, just by being on this call and calls like this, you're an early adopter in this. And it's going to move fast. You're still on the front edge of it. So AI is a coach. Think about AI as your coach or your board of directors. And this creates some different prompts. So try this on. Maybe we put something into AI, like our business plan, and we say, what crucial blind spots might I be overlooking? If I'm aiming to elevate my decision-making, what habits should I build? What risks am I not seeing from this strategic choice? If you were on my board, what would you challenge me on? Notice how this is a very different perspective of talking to AI than talking to AI as your assistant. This is trying to have AI be a role, a persona that is one that will challenge you, will come from a place of a coaching, looking for where are the blind spots in your thinking. Here's another set of questions. instead of you asking AI to ask you. Interview me like a leadership coach. Ask me powerful questions to uncover blind spots. Challenge my thinking as if you're my mentor. Act as my board of directors and stress test my plan. Debate this decision as if your investors protecting long-term value. Play devil's advocate on my strategy. So again, taking a completely different role with AI, instead of thinking of AI as just doing what you tell it to do, you're treating AI as, hey, I'm not perfect in this. What am I missing? Using AI to figure out your own blind spots might be a huge opportunity. Is anybody using AI? I mean, I guess I would say a type of blind spot would be almost in like the therapist or a kind of a personal coach role. Is anybody using AI in that capacity, right? Whole different opening. Here's what's going on with my family. What am I missing here? What's a side of this that I'm not thinking? Even the idea of what's a way that I'm not having empathy for this person that I could, right? It's opening ourselves up to our blind spots. Huge opportunity for using AI in question form. All right. The next one, the one on the left side was colleague. And I don't know what sentence I was about to finish up there, but that is the story of my life. All right, so think of AI as a colleague or an expert in a different field. Here would be a few principles that we probably all know if we were dealing with a human expert in a different field that would apply as we're thinking about AI as well. Again, remember one of my first comments was AI will always be confident and it will sometimes be accurate. So one, what would I do if it was a human? Have them show or explain their work. Have them show or explain their work. So if I, now that wouldn't necessarily, that wouldn't necessarily for me relate to the coding example, right? I'm like, it actually will show you its work. And I'm like, I don't even understand what any of those signs and symbols mean. I wouldn't care about that. But the second one I did use. So I went into Claude, which is like ChatGPT, but a different product last night. And I wanted it to build a website. And then to launch that website to make it live so that one of us could go out and see it, I had to host it on a site. And I have no idea how to do that. And I just kept saying to Claude, do this for me or explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader. I think it explained it to me at a level below a fifth grader, but anything that you want explained, you're like, I need you to dumb this down for me step by step by step. It's so different interacting with AI than just reading an instruction manual. An instruction manual, we can't go back and forth. But going into, like, I'll say, tell me what to do. And it'll say, well, you do these 5 steps. So I went to step 1 and I went to the site that it told me to go to, and I opened up the page it told me to open, and I looked at it. I'm like, I have no idea what it's telling me to do next. I just took a screenshot of that page. I went back to ChatGPT or Claude, and I said, I have no idea what you're telling me to do. It took the image of what I sent it. It was me telling it, here's the page I'm on. And it's like, oh, okay, well, sorry, you don't click this button. It's not labeled that. Click on this button. One of the very last things, it kept telling me to upload something. And then at the very end, it said, oh, you're right. The way it uploads, it wants it in a folder. So you take the file, put the file in a folder and drag the folder in to upload it, and then it'll work. And it was right? It was the simplest thing. And then lastly, get a second opinion. So what's a way that you can get a second opinion with AI? Well, one way is to go back to that list of all the different tools and get a second opinion by asking different models. So ChatGPT is the main model that I will use. But if there's something that's really important, oftentimes I will put it in different models and I will see how I get different answers. You can even put it in one model, grab the response that model gave you, take that response and put it in some. So an example would be put a question into Perplexity, ask it to research something for you that's important to you. How does the Augusta rule work if I want to write off usage of my home for business purposes of my primary residence? And it's going to give you an answer. I would not take that answer and go do your own taxes this afternoon. but I might take that answer. I might do things like show me, cite sources of what you just told me, which Perplexity, I think, naturally does. Explain this to me like I'm a fifth grader. Then I might take that whole answer and go over to ChatGPT and say, here's an answer that I got. Tell me what's right about this answer. Tell me what's wrong about this answer, and cite sources. You're using different AI models. We have a AI product we're using right now inside of our brokerage where agents are able to go upload a form and ask AI, what should I be doing here? Now that's really dangerous territory, and we're trying to take it really slow and work through this. One of the ways that they are putting safeguards, guardrails on that system is when a question comes into the AI, what it's doing behind the scenes is it's answering in one model like ChatGPT, and then it's taking that answer and it's pinging it to another model like Claude or Perplexity or Gemini, grading the first answer, and then sending that graded response to a third model that's synthesizing it. So it's pinging across different models, and that's what's helping to confirm or improve accuracy. All right, that might have been way too technical. Last category. So remember where we're at so far. Using AI as your clone. Tools I use, Fathom and Otter. I'll show you some of these if there's time. Using AI as a coach. I don't really have a tool for this. I'll just say, I mean, I guess in a way, this could be a comment on a tool. I really, really like the voice feature. I love voice conversations with my coach, and I love being able to talk to AI and go back and forth in a conversational format, and using AI as a coach or a thought partner has been huge that way. Third, using AI as a colleague or an expert in a different field. Might want to look into Perplexity for this. This is one where I actually don't want AI to take my thinking. I'm trying to have AI teach me something that I don't know. And then last, using AI as your assistant. So some of you on this call have assistants right now. Some of you have really big teams. Think about how true what this slide says is for your in real life assistants. And I'll just tell you, it's not that different with AI, right? So when I have an assistant and things are not going well, some of the questions that I ask myself: did I give my assistant clear directions? Did I have an SOP, standard operating procedure, of what I wanted them to do? If the answer is no, it's probably going to go poorly. Did I give my assistant the context or the background that they need to do the job? Did I give them the contextual background, the relevant details going in? Maybe not the details I want them to research, but the context around it. Number 3, did I check their work? Did I check their work, or did I trust them too much? Did I check their work, or did they send me an answer and like AI, I was like, oh, wow, they look really confident. It must be accurate. And I trusted it too much, and I just put it out there. One of my brothers is an attorney, and I think in the law space, there's real concerns about using AI. And there's certainly a story that probably goes around like infamously, where an attorney turned something into a judge citing a case only to be disbarred because they found out it wasn't real. So what did he do? He trusted ChatGPT or whichever platform he was using. He trusted it too much. He paid the ultimate penalty. They disbarred him. And now every other attorney in the US is fearful of using AI because like that's a real problem, right? No different than an intern or an assistant that did some work and it was not verified. I taught a class like this inside of our brokerage, and somebody went out from that class and used ChatGPT like, well, I don't even know in what role you would think about this, but they put together a net sheet for a seller. When you sell your house, here's all the costs there's going to be to sell. And based on that, they were trying to help the seller decide if they could sell. The seller looked at those numbers and said, oh, well, based on this, I can't sell. And I found out about it because they reached back out to me. I said, how's it going with that seller? Oh, they decided not to sell. Why did they decide not to sell? Well, I showed them the numbers of what they would walk away with. And they would have to bring money. They couldn't sell. I'm like, where'd you get the numbers? Well, ChatGPT. Now remember, ChatGPT, always confident, sometimes accurate. What do you think happened in this case? This was in the sometimes accurate that wasn't actually accurate, but it looked so compelling because it was so detailed in the net sheet that they sent out to this agent. And this is an example of an agent putting too much trust in ChatGPT. All right. Fourth, do I recognize their skills or trust them too little? I think that the way I'd tell you think about this right now is ChatGPT, or all of AI, is the dumbest it will ever be right now. So if there's something that you tried to see if it could do last week and it couldn't do it, and you're like, see, it's not that smart. You were right. You were right. It wasn't that smart last week. Let's even pretend that your prompting was good. The questions you asked it were good. It just wasn't that smart. I'm telling you, check back in a week, check back in a month, check back in 6 months, because whatever it couldn't do for you last week, it's going to be able to do faster than you think. All right. Lastly, did I view my assistant as an investment, or did I view it as an expense? I started off the call saying, if you are not paying for any AI products, the first thing I want you to do is go get yourself a Swiss Army knife and go pay $20 a month for ChatGPT. If you are seeing the different roles that AI can play in your world, and you see how this could actually be an investment, all it has to do is save you that equivalent per month in made up time, revenue, etc. That's a huge win. Okay. Other comments on thinking of AI as an assistant. In a way, this kind of would, well, it's would relate mostly to the assistant side. So there's a great book by a guy named Dan Martell. And remember our comment earlier about now I know Kung Fu. You could put into ChatGPT right now while I'm talking to you, give me a quick synopsis of Dan Martell, and you'll get what I'm giving you and more. But there's a great book by Dan Martell called How to Buy Back Your Time. And in that book, he teaches this principle. I don't know if he calls them bookends. I think maybe that's what I call them. But he teaches this principle of the 10-80-10 principle. And it's funny because now that I see a whole bunch of people teaching on AI, everybody's teaching some version of this. I don't know where they got it. I adapted it from him teaching this book. So he basically says, if you have an assistant, you have to do the first part. First 10% is yours. And then the assistant does the middle 80%. And then you have a job at the end, the last 10%. So I think visually a lot. So I think of that as bookends, right? Like my role in any project is always on the bookends of the project. First 10%, last 10%. So what's the first 10%? The first 10% is getting better at prompting. Getting better at prompting. Prompting is the opening question. You open up ChatGPT. What do you type next? That's the first 10%. Custom GPTs are examples of great prompts that you figured out. Maybe it took you a while to figure out a really great prompt. It's like finding a really good recipe for chocolate chip cookies. But once you found it, you put that recipe in, and now it's a recipe you use every time when you want to do that task. That's what a custom GPT is. Many of us are spending a lot of money on the internet right now because somebody out there is saying, I have this great product for you. And all they're doing is they're creating a custom GPT and they're selling you that recipe. Now, by the way, if it's a really good recipe, don't be afraid to pay for it. And understand you're also capable of making some really good recipes. You just need a little bit of time in the kitchen to do it. And if you create a great recipe, you can save it in your own ChatGPT in a paid version that you can access at any point. And then the other side of it, the other 10%, is always be the last set of eyes on your product. And what I mean by product there is your work product, the output of whatever came out of ChatGPT. So often, if we are tired or lazy or unsure of ourselves, we're going to get a response from ChatGPT. That agent that sent the net sheet out to the client that was wrong, she did not do that because she was tired or lazy. She did it because she actually thought AI knew more than she did. Okay. There's I think that's one of my biggest concerns is as humans, where are we going to start to doubt our own abilities or doubt that little nudging that we have of like, I don't think this is right. Make sure that you are reviewing the content that comes out, and we've got to learn to kind of trust that instinctual gut feeling more and more of like, let's go back to the drawing board on this. I see too many people just pushing it on into the world. Okay. Couple other random comments here. By the way, I think I've said this, but if I haven't, y'all, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I'm happy to try to address things in real time. It works great with my ADHD. Meanwhile, I'll just keep going. So how can you access AI? I talked earlier about who AI can be, right? Those 4 roles. And maybe you'll come up with 10 roles. You can put it into ChatGPT. It'll come up with 300 roles in 60 seconds if you want. But I like those 4. But here's another thought to consider is how do I access AI? So there's a phrase called multimodal. Multimodal is, if you think about different ways that you can put something in as input and different ways that you can take output out. So right now, many of us are using ChatGPT or any AI product in a very specific way. We're putting text in and we're getting text out. So you're going to a screen, you're typing in something, and out the other side is coming more text. That would be on this screen. If I could draw an arrow right now, that would be text to text. Now, interestingly, I put emails in parentheses because this is an example of something that is just now starting to come up. I actually still don't have a tool. I'm working to build it right now, and I know many people like Min has already built this. I'm still working on a tool where I could take an email in my inbox and send it to ChatGPT and have it give me a response. ChatGPT now has links to Google inside of ChatGPT. I'll try and pull that up and show you in a second. That came out for me. I saw it this weekend. It was an absolute game changer. I think we're going to start to see stuff move so quickly on this, and I'll try to show you. But think of the first way that you interact with ChatGPT is text in, text out. Now, and sort of inside of the framework of the ChatGPT box, right? Like it's talking to you inside of that box. Now, there's other times where we might put longer content in, right? We upload a PDF to ChatGPT or any of these products, and out the other side comes text, right? I could upload, if you're in real estate on this call, here's an offer that I just received on my listing. Please review it and give me an offer summary. So document went in, a PDF, and out the other side came text through a screen. You could do it the other way, right? You could put text in and you could say, give me this as a formal letter in a PDF. And out the other side will come a formalized PDF. So think text could go in, documents could go in, text could come out, documents could come out. Then start to think about what you can do with voice. So at first, if you have an iPhone, you're starting to see voice input to output right now. In this voice in would be anytime AI is now screening your phone calls, and there's been services that have been doing this for a while. They're listening to the phone calls, and out the other side is either text like a transcript or some version of a summary of it. If you look down at your phone and you just missed a call because you're on here, and AI listened to the voicemail, and it gives you kind of the summary of mom called, she loves you, wants to know when you're coming home, right? That might be the comment that it gives you. Then we start to see that AI is moving further, and you can start to put things in like photos can go in, and what could come out the other side? Well, you could put all of the photos of an upcoming listing into ChatGPT and say, write my listing remarks. Now, what was that? That was photos in, text out. You could also put photos in of, here's a room that doesn't, in fact, maybe I've got a couple examples here. Here's a room, and I want you to add virtual staging. So understand the input of this was the photo on the left, the original photo. The output was not words. The output was another image. First picture, no furniture. Second picture, furniture. I'll go back through a couple of these. I already
on the staging, did you actually do that in a specific software or in ChatGPT?
Yeah. No, that was in a specific software.
Special. Okay.
Remember that idea of like, it's the dumbest it'll ever be? I think that every day people at ChatGPT in particular, OpenAI, are waking up and they're going to work with the goal of putting every other company that is specialized out of business because they're trying to do it at a general level. I have a feeling that's what they're trying to do. But right now, where money is being made is people are finding niche products, right? ChatGPT is a Swiss Army knife, but if you want the best tweezers in the entire world, they're not going to be in that Swiss Army knife. We make the premium tweezer you've ever seen, and it's $20 a month also. And so they're just selling us a bunch of little projects. Ron is saying, I use Copilot to do staging, didn't use another program. So Ron, great example. One, I haven't used Copilot much. So that's awesome. And two, if I had used Copilot, I probably used it so long ago that it didn't do a great job with staging. Anything that you're thinking that you're paying for a premium product right now, pretty soon that's going to happen inside of one of the main products. There's only probably 5 main products out there, and they're the ones growing at huge scale. Other people are winning because they're making boutique little products. But yeah, I love that. Y'all keep iterating on some of this stuff. The one that I was using, I think, is virtualstaging.ai. That's the one that I was using most recently, Stephanie. So the voice-to-voice feature, if you're not using this, I think this is huge. Actually, here's one thing that I don't like about the voice-to-voice. It interrupts me. So I do 2 things. One is I tell it, when I talk to you and you respond back to me, I always want you to use no more than 20% of the words that I speak. So if I talk to you, think of this, if I talk to you for 5 minutes, it would never do this. But if I talk to you for 5 minutes, I only want you to talk to me, we'll change it. If I talk to you for 50 seconds, I don't want your answer to be any longer back to me than 10 seconds. Because what I find is I'll talk to ChatGPT and then it'll go off on this monologue itself longer than what I was doing. And I missed the whole point. I wasn't actually trying to listen to it. I wanted to dump some thoughts. So we were in Florida the last couple of weeks. I would walk on the beach every morning and I would pull out Otter. So I'm not interacting with it in real time, but I am talking to Otter and I'm using that. I'll then dump that into ChatGPT and I'll have it give me some thoughts later in the day, but I'm just brainstorming with a digital recorder that I can then put into a chat product. Okay. When we were in Rome, I guess maybe last year, this is one of the first times that I realized that, oh man, picture to text, big deal. I could just take a picture when we were at a museum and it transcribed it for me. Now it's doing so much more than this now, but anything in your world, I'm sitting in my office right now and I could take a picture of the bookshelf behind me and just say, inventory all these books. And it will do a pretty good job of grabbing every title behind me, right? You could do the same thing in your pantry, right? Take a picture in your pantry, inventory what we have, same thing in your fridge. It's all that sort of stuff. Picture to text. This is for no good reason other than we were sitting at this restaurant. I just took a picture of this sign and I said, where am I based on the marketing in this photo? It is amazing at how much better AI is getting at being a detective of figuring out where you are. All right. If AI is playing these roles, be willing to pay for it. And for me, what that means is be willing to invest your time, which you're doing right now. Be willing to invest your money. You want to invest your money? For me, it's in 2 ways. I'll invest my money in training, learning about this stuff more. I'll invest my money in products. So I started off paying $20 a month. I was paying that for ChatGPT. I'm paying for a few more products now, and I'll show you what some of those are. And there's others on here that could throw in the chat the products that they would say, man, if my budget was $100 a month or $200 a month, here's what I'd be putting in. But this is the cheapest coach and the cheapest assistant you will ever have. Be willing to pay for it. So here's some of the ones that I'm using now. Some of these do have a paid component. Productive.ai, y'all, this one's nuts. Has anybody using Productive? This is so crazy. I might just go into my email to show you. So Productive, if you call me, Productive sits between me and the call. So y'all, there's no privacy anymore. Just be prepared for that. But Productive sits between me and the call. It records my voice because that's legal. It doesn't record your voice. I don't know what state you're in, but it records my voice. It listens to the whole call. And at the end of the call, it summarizes the call and it drafts an email in my inbox as a response to the call. I think I pay $30 a month for that. Gamma, great tool for creating digital assets, in some ways similar to Canva, and in some ways maybe easier to use. So Gamma is a great tool, kind of in the visual category. I think there's a free version of that with a few credits, and then there's a paid version of that. I'm paying $20 a month for ChatGPT. I mean, I'm not paying for a lot of these. I pay for Otter. I pay for Loom, which is another tool that I can record short videos, instructional videos for my team, etc. Opus's clips. I could take this hour-long video that we're doing here. I could put it into Opus, and it will do not as good. It will not be as good as my virtual assistant in the Philippines that creates videos. But here's the thing, it'll be 80% as good. And that should scare anybody. When something will be 80% as good for a fraction of the cost, we've all got to up our game. As real estate agents, a lot of us on this call are real estate agents. If somebody puts their request into ChatGPT and they get a response that is 80% as good as you, but available instantly, we've all got to up our game. A Guide and Scribe are both tools for creating SOPs or standard operating procedures at a really high level for the team. Okay, I will say this, and then I'll take some questions. If you got questions, go ahead and throw questions into the chat or get ready to come off mute. I will say, especially if you're in real estate, although I don't know that it'd be different if you were in any other entrepreneurial venture or just really want to dig into AI. I want to learn more about this. I want to bring more of our real estate agent colleagues along. This is, for some of you, this is a great opportunity. If you want more hands-on and you want to be able to come off mute more often, ask more questions and kind of dumb down, but walk through this, I'm gonna take a small group of people through a 4-week course. So what we're doing right now, totally free. This one, not totally free, totally reasonable. I actually don't even know how much it is, but I'm sure that if you scan that, and I think that maybe we'll put a code in the chat so that if you're on here live, grab the code if you want it. I think it makes it a reduced price. But if you want to join me for 4 weeks, learn more about AI, I want you to have some skin in the game. I want you to learn, and I'm going to dig deeper into some of the tools that we're using and create some time that people can actually work on stuff together. So feel free to grab that. I'll leave that slide up for another second or so, or just let me know as soon as I see that put in the chat. I will drop off of it. Okay, perfect. And go ahead and put the code in there in the chat, because I'm going to come off of this for a second and actually share my screen. Does anybody have any questions of what I've shared so far? We're at the top of the hour. So on one hand, you got to run, go in and run. I'm going to walk you through a couple examples of this and how I use stuff inside of ChatGPT and maybe a few other tools. But does anybody have any questions before I start into that? Okay.
Can you talk about the differences between Otter and Fathom? Again, how you use those different platforms?
Totally. So actually that's perfect timing. So first off, right now I am recording this call in both Otter. I'm recording this call in Otter. You see right now it started and we are down at minute 59:40, right? I'm also recording it on Fathom. I don't have the recording on Fathom, but right now I have the recording on Otter. So just think about Otter as being in real time. And if I'm not on a Zoom call, so if Alice and I are on a long road trip drive and we're wanting to brainstorm something, we often will just pull up Otter and we'll just let Otter, oh, come on. We'll just let Otter listen to our conversation for 30 minutes on any different topics, right? Then I take the recording. So I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to go into the software and I'm going to say, build me a website based on today's class. And I'm hitting paste, and all I'm pasting, if it will do it. Well, here's what I'll do. I will stop this. No, I don't want to do that. All right, I'm going to try grabbing it all again. We'll see if it'll grab it. It's a long call. All right, I think I'm breaking Otter at the moment. Use stop. All right, so I just stopped the recording. So now anything covered here, we're not going to have it in Otter, and that's totally fine. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to grab the text. More options. I think Otter needs a timeout at the moment. All right, here's our call. Export. I'm going to export the text, export the transcript. I'm going to put it on the clipboard, export. So I'm going to do a couple things with this. One, I'm going to go into this site. I just like Claude. Remember, everything is ChatGPT is a Swiss Army knife. It'll probably do a website better than I think very soon, if not already. But I just started to like Claude. So I'm going to say in here, build me a landing page based on today's class. and I'm going to hit go. It might actually have a hard time because I'm giving it an hour's worth of content, but give it a minute and it's going to work on that. While it's doing that, I'm going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to show you guys a couple things at once. Some of you have seen me do this before. I am going to go to a custom GPT that I built called Content Multiplier. Now, what is a custom GPT? Again, remember, this is like a recipe for a great set of chocolate chip cookies that I made a recipe that I really liked and I perfected it over time. And now I just wanted to bake the cookies with the same ingredients, the same way every time. So you don't know what the recipe is. The recipe is sort of behind this firewall here called inside of the ChatGPT. I could share this chat GPT with any of you and you would get the same results that I'm getting, but you wouldn't know what is in the recipe. The recipe is sort of all of this stuff. And more than anything, one of the things we'll do over those 4 weeks, just want to help you guys learn to build these yourselves so you're not paying other people for it. I think we're kind of missing the boat on some of that stuff. But I'm going to go into this, Darren, and I'm just going to hit paste again. Now notice I haven't given any instructions. I'm just hitting paste. Here's what it's going to do right now. Remember, for me, for you guys, you're sitting on this call, you're absorbing content for the last hour. What am I doing as a professional in this call? I'm teaching, right? So this is stage time. So this would be, if we're a real estate agent, high dollar productive activities, I'm doing work right now. Now, I want you to think about how much additional content I can get out of the last hour with doing very little work next. I'm giving all this to AI, right? Think about the last class, Darren, that you talked, Stephanie, the last time you were in front of a room, for so many others on here. So first thing that it did is it just gave me structured notes. Now, were my notes going into this call structured? I mean, kind of. I had built the slides. I've given some of this talk before. Yet this just gave me my own content pushed back to me in a very structured way. That's incredibly helpful for somebody who doesn't feel like they take good notes and is pretty ADD. I bet if I look through here, I bet I will find something that I said today that I actually haven't shared the same way before. Okay, now, so step one is it gave me some summary notes. Step two, I'm just going to say two, it's going to go on. Now what it's going to do, because this is the recipe I gave it, right? This is how we make these chocolate chip cookies, is, I don't know, thinking longer. Well, okay, now it's going to write a series of articles. So it's now going to write, I don't know, 3 to 7 articles from the talk I just gave, using, for the most part, my own language patterns. This is going to sound more like me than anything else because it's coming from my content.
Did it get your language patterns just from this recording, or is that stuff that's being built in?
Yeah, it's so a little bit of both, right? Definitely some from this recording, and then I have, over time, I've taken a whole bunch of these transcripts. Imagine taking 50 of these transcripts, putting into a chat or any other product and saying, you are a ghostwriter. I want you to take all 50 of these transcripts that is my actual style, and I want you to come up with effectively like a brand Bible of how I speak, as if you are a ghostwriter. Create a full summary that if I say, talk like me, you're literally writing down the recipe of what that means. And you're doing it trained from these 50 transcripts. Okay. And can we just confirm that we got Okay, we're good on the chat. Let me know if anybody needs anything. So see this? Jarvis, the Matrix, and the minions on my desk. AI is salt, not the meal. The day and age entrusted AI more than herself. That's a great article. Right? I told a story on this call. By the way, I have not used that story the last time I did this training. This is brand new today that this story exists. Ask AI to be your coach, not just your assistant. Custom GPTs. I like it without getting burned. That wasn't mine, but it's cool, right? So, by the way, I'm going to check this over here real quick. All right, we'll come back to this. Now I'm going to go to step 3. Now it's going to take the articles it just wrote, Darren. It's going to go back to the transcript that had timestamps, and it is going to figure out exactly when I started talking about that topic and it's going to give instructions to my video editor. So when we're done with this, I'm going to go on and have lunch, and I could send what I'm showing you right now to my video editor and to my social media person. And they could draft articles for a newsletter. They could create all of these clips from the video work that we just did. Right now, that would only work if we had the video like in Fathom, but it's going through and matching those. And then I think the last one that I'll give it is step 4, and that's going to create kind of a series of social media posts, etc. So I've got some video captions, I've got some carousel ideas, I've got a quote post. What I like about this is this wasn't me going to ChatGPT and saying, create some posts for me that make me sound smart about AI. This was my teaching. These are my ideas. I could endorse this. I could put my name to this. This was actually me. AI absolutely was my assistant in the room taking notes and then giving something back to me. But this is more like me than not. That always confident, sometimes accurate. I don't know when I first came up with that, but I know I didn't hear that anywhere. I know I brought that to the world.
That's great.
Is this helping a little bit? Now check this out. We talked about multimodal. Here's a crazy comment that I hear from a buddy of mine that is way smarter than this stuff than me. He said, the world of Google Docs is probably going away. It is going to be faster to create websites than to create documents. Now, here's what that might mean. What if the way that we wanted to interact with the content from today was this? Let's look at this together, y'all. We've all been on this last class for an hour and 11 minutes. Now by the way, the buttons probably won't work. But just think about how we are all visual creatures, and just think about how much easier it is to absorb some of your ahas. In fact, as I scroll through this a little bit, think about what were your ahas from today's class, and notice if you give the answer you give because something jumped out on the page to you, because we literally had AI build out a page. I'm going to do one more while it's doing that. We'll see if we have time. So look at this, right? The 4 roles AI can play in your business. And some of you, I'll send this to you. Put this in your phone. I'm actually super curious to know how optimized it is for phone versus we're obviously looking at it on a laptop here. From analog to digital, here's some of the tools that I mentioned. Start your AI journey, ChatGPT, the 10-80-10 principle, and then a call to action. Remember, AI is the dumbest it will ever be. I'll show you one more thing here if this thing will finish building. You notice I didn't show you guys this behind the scenes. We just showed you sort of the finalized thing. But what it's actually doing in real time is it's building out a website, or in this case, it was building out a landing page for us. And I wonder if these, yeah, so this examples of sort of where it breaks down, right? It has some of the links will break in it. Let's see if this thing will finish. I'll give that a second. Does anybody have questions or comments in the chat? Well, I'll give a couple more minutes here for any questions. There are certainly no dumb ones. And if you don't have questions, I would love to know, honestly, what are some of your takeaways? What are ways that you will start to use AI more as a result of this? What are your ahas?
So I got a quick question. So you're having it create this website right now, but basically is the code on the right that it's creating something then you're giving to a web person to then put into action?
Well, first off, this one right here, this thing right here, it's literally in the chat. You could go to this link and this would pull up for you. It is a live website hosted at the moment on Claude. Okay. There are other services. I'm not, this is like a couple steps above where I'm at, Stephanie, but there are other services. I built one out last night where Claude would deploy this to another website that I could own everything else. It is so close. It's so close. I'm gonna show you guys a couple.
Because I'm wanting to do something for my website or for a rental, business or things like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Yeah. So check this out. I love We'll say this works. By half the time when I do these, they work the first time. Half the time they totally don't. In fact, no, this one definitely won't because it said continue. So let me give that another minute. I'm going to show you guys a couple more things inside of ChatGPT. Did this make sense, by the way? Darren, you and I first started talking about this, that content multiplier. Now watch this. I'm in my email now, and all I'm going to write is find me any offers that came in this morning in my email. Right? I have no idea. I have no idea what we're going to get here. But ChatGPT is now linked to Gmail. Remember, privacy is gone. Any illusion of privacy, in my mind. We'll see if it's going to pull anything up here. Give me a second. And we'll see if, okay, let's see if this thing is done. Published, copy link. All right. So check this out. Come on. By the way, y'all notice that this thing, it's stupid, right? Where's the question? There's no question. My response to it, this isn't working. Proof it 100%. We'll give that another minute to think while I come back to the emails. So for example, here's a couple of the emails that came into my inbox and that I'm going to review. Now, by the way, it didn't pull up some of the ones that I absolutely needed, but it did pull up some other random stuff. If I said to it, I'm traveling to on a kayak trip next week, all relevant emails from past 6 months on the trip. It's now going through email and checking for all of that. All right, I'm letting these two things simmer for a little bit. Does anybody have any other questions while I'm doing that?
The connection to Gmail, is that just inherent to it because it's a Google product, or?
Well, it's not a Google product. So inside of almost all these products now, what you're going to start to see is under settings, connectors. So I have my ChatGPT now connected to Gmail, Google Calendar, and Google Drive.
Oh, that makes more sense. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. I don't really, I could connect it to Box. I have a ton of stuff in Box and Dropbox. I could connect it to Canva. I don't use really anything else on there. If I use Notion, that'd be great. So there's not a lot inside of this one. Inside of Claude, again, it's not, this would not be my Swiss Army knife. Okay. But I really like some of the parts about Claude. And how do I get to, so connectors inside of Claude. Stephanie, that one that I was creating a website from is this Netlify. But look at all the different connectors that this one has.
Okay.
Okay, so I think one of the next things that I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it to Stripe and to Square, where we take in some payments on some things and see if it can just give me sort of real-time reporting by just asking a query inside of here.
And have you set up your Chat GPT as a team version?
I have not. Crazy
Okay.
enough, it doesn't go back and forth like that. So I actually paid for it. I was using the pro version where I'm paying $20 a month, and I thought I upgraded to the team version. It's not. It's a whole nother account, and you could take your pro version and change it over, but you can never go backwards. And I'm like, I didn't want to lose that data. So I have not done that yet. I'm not sure my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I saw someone, Tracy, that was doing it, and she's got it so that she has all of her stuff, but then her team can actually be using it and has her team able to you know what I mean, use as a team. So
Yeah, another, well, so one, this doesn't accomplish that, but when you're talking about, team usage, one of the things that makes me think about is a shared, kind of a shared resource drive. Notebook LM is a tool that, I mean, I'll plan to dig in deeper with a group of people, but Notebook, one of the things that's great about it is that will, by the way, so Stephanie and Darren, one of the things we share is that we did a retreat together on working together as entrepreneurial couples. So we did a lot of calls with entrepreneurial couples. And in here, what I have are the transcripts of 20 some Zoom calls with entrepreneurial couples, right? Y'all are probably in here. Now, so these are the sources. So now if I said, write me a 12-week course on working together as an entrepreneurial couple based on pain points that entrepreneurial couples face, and this is the starting point, that's real life. That's not coming from a place of just hypothetical searching.
Right.
So imagine if you had all of your buyer consults or all of your listing conversations. Imagine if you had those recorded and you put those all in here, and that is what you're using to train your team on. Darren, from a market center perspective, there could be a folder in here. I mean, I'll probably have one that is, so stuff, Keller Williams policies and guidelines. And you could put all of the P&G manual, all the policies and stuff in here. And then when it shoots out an answer, it's basing it from the training inside of this.
Yeah, that's really great. I'm already feeling like recording team meetings because you have people come in and teach, like content, just different articles you can write from those trainings. I mean, and this right here is great.
I personally am really hesitant these days to ever do a training that they won't let me record, because I'm like, it's just such a waste of time. Why is this not working? Huh. All right. Well, this isn't working. Stay tuned next time for something else that doesn't work. We will break for today. Y'all, I would love to see you on this 4-week course that I'm gonna do. If that interests you, join on in. Otherwise, stay tuned. I'm sure I'll be doing more and more briefings like this online from time to time, and I'd love to see you there too. Hope you guys are doing great.